What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 21 of the Main Stand, joined today by a very special guest, friend of the podcast, Carson Dalheim, all the way from DC. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for having me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Welcome,
Thanks for
welcome.
being here, man. Thanks for being here. So, for those of you who don't know, Carson is an employee for Loudoun FC in Virginia. Did I say it's Loudoun, right?
Loudoun United FC.
Loudoun United FC.
It's
I have
got
the
it's got it's
notes.
got all of it.
It's all okay. So for people who don't know, which I'm going to be honest, there might be a lot. Where can we find Loudoun United FC, and what's your role within the club? We'll start there.
Yeah, so you can go to loudoununitedfc.com. It's just your basic soccer club website. What I do at the club, I am the manager of merchandise and events. So generally speaking, I'm in charge of all merchandise, including jerseys, scarves, t-shirts, sweatshirts, anything that you could buy online or you find at your local club or at your national club. We got all that kind of stuff. You can find us in Leesburg, Virginia. So the fun fact about us that I like to talk about is that we're an official affiliate of DC United.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so that really benefits us in the sense that we get a lot of branding with them, but we're also an individual club itself.
Nice. And you just USL.
Yep, USL Championship. So we're the second tier of soccer in the United States. A lot of people don't know, we're right below the MLS.
Nice, nice. So
So
in working for one of those smaller clubs that maybe might not be as well known, might not have the same amount of representation on the national level, fans, etc. And then being in the environment where you work for that club, what are some of the differences that people might not realize or might not think about in working for a club of that size versus something a little bigger, or maybe like experiences that you have working for a club of that level that maybe somebody working for even for like DC United, for example, might not run into?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the obstacles that we usually run into, as of recently, the club was created in 2019 in Loudoun County, Virginia, and off the basis that would be almost be like a feeder club for DC United, but while we're still independent in its own area. So over the last couple of years, obviously we've been affected by COVID.
Mhm.
So for the 2020 season, 2019 season, there weren't like any fans at all. I joined last season, and that was the first time we were able to have fans back. So really just being able to gather information, going out in public, just meeting people and just getting the word out of who we are. Because it's crazy the amount of people we go around and they've never even heard about our soccer team before, you know? And I like to believe that we're a high level team. We have a lot of players that have gone on to places. I know Kevin Paredes plays for Wolfsburg. He's played for the club.
That's cool.
A lot of guys that go up to DC United end up playing with us. So being able to gather that information, letting people know that we are really, really talented, and we are basically, I don't even want to say a stepping stone because I think that's unfair to the program and club itself. But there's a lot of players that go here that go on to really, really big things. And I think that's where we like to start with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But before I keep going with a couple of questions that I had, I'll open it up to Mitch and Josh for a second. You guys got anything for Carson before I run down my other two?
Yeah, I do, real quick. And I'm not sure if you want to answer this, Carson, where you do have an affiliation with DC United, but are you pro relegation in the U.S.? Just curious.
In my pro, well, I mean, besides my fact of with no affiliation, I'd say, yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I mean, we're all here, we're all fans of the European game, and I think I think it's better than franchising, to be honest. I just think it's important to have competition at the lower part of the level. I think people need something to fight for rather than just doing nothing. I mean, if you suck, then you're just gonna suck because no one cares, and you're gonna be fine. So yeah, I am. I'm with nothing to do with our club in general. I think pro rel and is important and something we should have. Do I think it'll happen? Probably not.
Yeah, that's fair. When I was out in the Midwest, I kind of got into the USL a little bit with Ford Madison and Union Omaha, so I
Oh,
was kind of in that vibe. I'd love to see them in the MLS because they're just great clubs.
Yeah, and if we get pro rel, maybe look at a DC Derby.
But
unfortunately, I mean, I again, like I was I mean, we would love to have that, but I don't think we're allowed to.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think we're allowed to. I mean, I know we're not in the U.S. Open Cup.
Oh, really?
Because of that? Because you're considered like
I,
a
I believe
feeder
because of
club?
yeah. Well, not I wouldn't even say because of the feeder or we're just affiliated. So, like for example, last season, before the new ruling, which I can get into, last season we had a bunch of players that would essentially go on loan, and you could have players. We would have players go up and down essentially.
Okay.
Now, there are other clubs that have that situation. I know, for example, I don't know, LAFC, I believe last year signed up a guy from Las Vegas who's their technical affiliate. I think it's Danny Trejos was his name. He was the top scorer in the USL Championship before he went up. So we had that kind of thing. We had a lot of guys who would come down who have DC United contracts, and they would play for us for a handful of games. So having that balance, like I don't know if we could do that.
Hmm.
It feels much like a hockey build in terms of how you're affiliated with DC United. More so the ECHL to the AHL, where the teams have that independent kind of contracted players, but if you're affiliated with a team, there's a little bit of fluidity in how those players move.
Yeah, definitely it's something similar like that. Yeah.
It's very interesting structure, and I feel like it helps the USL in terms of gaining that fan traction from the MLS parent club and getting the word out that way versus the other way around where it's completely grassroots. You're having to do everything yourself. I feel like that's a huge stepping stone for you guys.
It was, and it felt like it was at the very beginning. But since COVID, it's almost feel like we've had to restart from the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, I joined in again, like I said, in 2021, and there wasn't even a real front office, for example. A lot of what I did before, what they did before we came in was basically people at DC United would take care of the stuff at Loudon United. And so this last season was the first season where we had a full front office. We had about a staff of 15, like account, and basically from the top to the bottom, we had a full staff for the first time. And you could see that it really, really improved. Um, the amount of people that would come in, the way things were run, it was a lot better than it had been, at least in my opinion, in the past.
That's good to hear. I'm glad that because from my background working in sports on the hockey side of things, COVID was a huge thing, especially for these smaller teams. And it's really kind of warming to hear that this club, especially at the USL level, in the position you're in, is able to find that success after COVID. You're starting to grow. Getting that front office, I'm sure, is a huge, huge weight off of a lot of people's shoulders.
It most definitely, and I think we're going to continue to grow just based on that kind of outlook. Things can only get better. We learned a lot last season. A lot of people, for example, that was my first sports job. And the same was for a lot of people in there. We had a couple of vets, but generally speaking, none of us had really knew what we were supposed to do. And so we tried a lot of things. A lot of things we found out didn't work. A lot of things did work. And I think after learning that, after last season, we're going to have it. I hope we have a spectacular season moving forward, at least off the pitch. And I think that's where a lot of it is important for us because like wins and losses are great, right? And all of that. But if you can get people in the door, even if you've lost like six in a row, that's more important than a lot of things for us.
Yeah. Having working in merchandise, how sweet is it to work in like a lower division where you have like complete freedom where like the MLS is a little bit more structured in terms of like kits and stuff like that?
I love it. Last season was actually it was tough because we came in and there was tons and tons of stuff left over from the last regime, and we essentially didn't have an opportunity to order new stuff, and so this is the first time in which we almost get to really express ourselves. And let me tell you, it is awesome because we're not held back by any vendors or anything like that. You can do whatever you want. You can have any design you want. And it's a lot of fun, especially being somebody that gets to work on that all the time. It's pretty sweet.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that is dope. And also, just speaking of off the pitch stuff, just out of curiosity, again, just because it's a bit of a smaller club, maybe not as publicized. Um, where can people watch Loudoun United FC if they were to, listen to this podcast and be like, I want to watch these guys ball out? Where's the easiest way to find them?
Last I knew, last season was on ESPN Plus, and I believe it's still going to be that way. You can find us on every single match week on ESPN Plus. Every single USL match has been on USL ESPN Plus. And like, for example, I have highlighted matches. There are times, and I believe there was last season we were on ESPN2 one time as well.
Ooh.
So, for example, March 19th is our home opener, and we're going to be on ESPN Plus on a Sunday, and then we're going to be the only match that's on there at the time.
Nice.
So
also, I'm watching that game as well.
They do highlight it quite a bit, and I mean they have a lot of local broadcasts, but it's all streamed through the ESPN Plus service, and I think they do a fantastic job. Obviously, there's more things that could happen with like branding or whatever, but generally speaking, like you have the opportunity for, I think it was like $5 a month. You could watch every single match of USL.
I think it's 6 now.
And 6. But generally speaking, like it's a pretty good deal. So yeah, we're on ESPN Plus.
Yes, that's awesome. I just wanted to make sure the people could know where to find you.
Yeah.
My last thing, and then Josh feels like he's got something, so I'll give him the floor. What are your thoughts on Maine potentially getting a USL club in the next year or two? There's a big behind it.
I was gonna ask. I mean, is it supposed to be in what, League One?
Yeah,
I think it's the championship, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe it is League One, but
it's one.
I think it is one. Yeah.
I mean, I think I think it'd be really cool. I think it's really important to have soccer everywhere. I mean, if you go over in England, they have a team every like 5 feet, and the way that the structures for, let's say, just MLS purposes, you got to travel really far to go to the next club. So I think it'd be really sweet if they started having teams closer and closer together and having more teams, especially in the USL. I'm a big believer in the USL, and I think I've become a bigger believer over last season. I've watched some of these bigger clubs, for example, San Antonio, who just won the USL championship. They're massive. Louisville City, they've got a 20,000 seat stadium that's gorgeous. Clearly, they have aspirations to go up to the MLS, but then generally speaking, you see these clubs that are building for the future. And I think that continuing to do that all over the country would be really important. I mean, I don't know how many clubs in the USL are in New England right now. I know they just had the Rhode Island one, I think they broke ground with. But having one in Maine would be pretty sweet. Although those early season games would be pretty cold.
Oh yeah, they're going to be frigid, but you're going to catch us there.
I had one more question. We were on the subject of TV, so you're obviously a guy that works in soccer in America. What did you make of like the Apple TV deal with the MLS?
I think, without saying like too much, because I know there's some stuff I can't say. Not, I've been not allowed to say a lot of things, but I want leagues in this country to thrive. I think as we all do. I think that's going to help, for example, our national team. I think it's going to help us, internationally. And generally speaking, I just like when there's really good soccer on everywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't mind if I have to pay $9.99 or whatever it is, but as long as I get good coverage and I can watch all the games and whatever, that's fine. So I'm all for it. I don't really know how good Apple TV is with it, generally speaking, because all they've really had recently is Ted Lasso, and that's all I know from Apple TV. So it could be a bust. It could be good. We don't know.
We'll see. Your boy Taylor Twellman, Pat, is one of the lead commentators. So
I don't want to talk about Taylor Twellman.
I think personally it's a step in the right direction to provide a platform for fans of the game to access the MLS in one place. However, I think it's going to be difficult for the smaller clubs or the fringe teams that just haven't gotten to that level of production value yet. Personally,
I know I read that that they're going to have specific amount of content they have to put out.
Yeah.
So that, right, aren't they? They're forcing clubs to essentially create stories and backgrounds. Yeah. Because I mean, it's probably all based on the Wrexham thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I saw that too. It's like they have even structures for like YouTube content, I think
Yeah.
specifically. So, like telling player stories and even like specific minutes of how long each one has to be. So, definitely sounds interesting. Not sure I like the structure of like every club feels like a little NFL-y of like every
Right.
club has to do the same thing, but I guess good or more content's good content, so can't really complain.
Agreed.
But
Yeah, just the way my 2 cents, because I always have to put them in. I think the Apple TV thing is good. I like the exposure that it gives to all the clubs. It kind of lets everybody feel like it's a real fan experience. It's like similar to the Amazon doc, Carson. Like I loved that. I love that we've gotten 2 different seasons where we got like a behind the
Hmm.
look at a club we really love. So I think it's cool. I do agree with Mitchell's point though that it does make it a little bit harder on the smaller clubs that might not have total accessibility to it. But like you guys said, all content's good content.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to go all crazy, right? I
Right.
mean, we all
yeah,
like the shows. I mean, I love Sunderland till I die,
great.
and the City doc, even like the Tottenham doc, like Arsenal doc, they're all great stuff. And I don't know if we'll get content like that, but even anything behind the scene, people just clamoring to see things behind the scene, whether good, bad, or whatever.
Yeah.
If there's like a player blow up, you want to see it.
Oh
If
yeah.
if anything, it feels like it's more uh Europeanizing the game, if you will. Like it's forcing the MLS to really go in depth with the clubs and show why you should be a fan of it. Give the fans a reason to follow the club. And I think this is a step in the right direction. I'm just curious to see how it pans out over the next year or two.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. Yeah. So Carson, thanks for taking the time to chat USL with us. And for all of you out there that are still listening, he's going to join us for the rest of the episode too. So let's talk some
Nice.
EPL. I'm not the only Man City fan on the podcast today.
Yeah, 2v2 equal playing ground for Pat. Tough scenes, but who do we want to talk about first, Pat? We had an FA Cup weekend last weekend that was kind of dull. You lost to Southampton last night. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, we did. I don't know about now I've got Carson here to give some extra perspective if he feels any differently than me, but I don't care like at all. I literally could care less. It's one less game.
I have a great.
uh,
I'll let Carson go.
I have the opposite opinion, to be honest. I think I think City are absolutely lacking something. I don't know what it is. And I don't know if it's just lacking creativity on the wings at the moment. Because
Oh, it is.
anytime, like I see Jack Grealish on the field, like I like to back him. I know he's worth 100 million, and he might get so whatever. But there are a couple matches I see him and he just disappears. Riyad Mahrez disappears. I mean, we brought in Phil Foden. Nothing. There's nothing. And I'm gonna put this out there. I thought Southampton's pitch was terrible, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it
But
didn't
like,
look good.
but
As a City fan, I'm with that. I think I've been saying we have a winger problem. I went on the radio today and said we have a winger problem. Uh, all our wingers are the same player, are they not?
yeah, but like, how can we go about that when we have one that's 60 million, one's 100 million? Like, they shouldn't be a problem.
Well,
And I
well,
don't.
price tags aside, strictly player profiles. Like
Yeah, they are the
Leroy
same.
Sané, we're missing a player like him, and I think that's been our biggest problem going forward this season. And I love Holland. He's going to score like 45 fucking goals in the league this year, but we have been playing with a false nine for 2 years, and the team is very clearly adapting to the fact we no longer constantly have midfield superiority in terms of numbers. It's a little bit of a growing pain. It
Mhm.
shouldn't be as bad as it is, but it's definitely there.
And then also, I mean, regardless of the team we put out, we still put out a really strong side and almost felt like we got dominated by
Oh,
the
we
team in
did.
last place. So like that's the issue I have going into. We can talk about going into the weekend if we go, but I don't like the direction we're going in at the moment. And I don't know what needs to change, but something does.
I mean, yeah, I would agree with that. And I mean, we can segue right into the weekend too if you guys want to do that. Unless there are other cup games you wanted to touch on before we slid into the two big ones this weekend.
I mean, speaking of like teams sucking against like relegation sides, we kind of
Yep.
sucked this week.
Yeah, we kind of big sucked. We did get a debut out of Gakpo though, which was nice. However, he did get shut down by a debut on that left side. I think it's going to take a couple of games for him to get into it, but other than that, it was just a typical Liverpool outing this season.
I also, before we get into any other games, I have a gripe with Pat because last week he relinquished the title, and now he's 5 points off top with 2 games against Arsenal left.
We're not winning the title. We're not.
No, you know what you're doing, Pat. You're putting yourself up.
We're
against
not
the wall
winning
where
the
if you
title.
don't win, you're like, oh, I called that back in January. We weren't gonna win, and then
We're not. We have 2 games
You're
against
taking
Tottenham
all the
in the next
risk away
4
from
weeks.
yourself.
They're gonna beat us twice.
You know what you're doing, Pat.
No, I did. I'm being honest. We're losing tomorrow too.
94th minute winner from Harry Kane.
Yeah, and then a Youngman
Send
Son
them
hat
home.
trick.
Don't forget to learn to handball.
Yeah. Someone's scoring with their hand. The Sun's gonna nutmeg Ederson, and we're gonna lose 4-0.
Man, you really don't.
Oh my god. Let's
It's Tottenham away, Carson. What more do you want from me? It's
Arsenal
Tottenham
till
away.
he dies. Arsenal till he dies.
Before we get into the games, let's knock out of bounds now, and then we'll get back into the fixtures. So we have 2 out of bounds topics. I added one in. We'll do the hot one first, which is Shakira's diss song on PK. I sent this to Pat in the group chat earlier today. The thing is really just like laughs. She just calls out PK's new girlfriend. Says he switched from a Rolex to a Casio, which is like the biggest insult I feel like ever.
That's a crazy bar.
Yeah, it says he goes to the gym a lot, but he needs to work his brain too. A lot. I mean, the whole song is just littered with like PK disses. It couldn't have happened to a better person too, because I hate PK. I hate everyone from Barcelona, so this just like made me laugh. I mean, I think Shakira even took digs at Barca, so I'm all in.
That's wild. PK fumbled like the craziest bag in the world with Shakira.
Hey, wasn't it like one of the players' moms?
Yeah, Gavi, I believe.
Oh.
I don't know. That rumor never really got validated, but it also never got shut down. So
It didn't. Yeah, it was like every other floated fucking just kind of intentional rumor that came out, but nobody said anything to say otherwise.
That's so crazy.
It was the best out of bounds topic I think we've had in a while. Things have been dry a little bit with the World Cup going on. And the other thing I had was, again, this is just me throwing my Liverpool sense into the bucket. The Liverpool LeBron jersey got leaked today. I need some thoughts from the group. Mitch didn't give thoughts, so I need his. It looks something like LeBron would have wore in 03, like listening to Jay-Z. I mean, the pinstripes, the everything. I don't know. I'm going to buy it, but it's crazy.
All I have to say is City did a limited edition kit this year, and our Lunar New Year kit kicks the shit out of that LeBron kit.
Yep.
Yes. I hate LeBron personally. I hate the kit. It sends me back to 2005. I feel like the only way to wear it is with a sweatband around your head, and I can't do that. I can't pull that off. I don't know what it is. I'm just a LeBron hater, and
Do you like Jude Bellingham, Mitch?
I like Jude
Then
Bellingham.
you'll get on the LeBron bandwagon with me.
I will not.
You will if we get Jude Bellingham. I'll buy that
pizza.
kit. I'll buy 10 of those kits if it means we're getting Bellingham.
I will back you in that investment if that's the case, but I won't wear any of them.
It was just a funny topic I saw today. I wanted to bring it up with the boys. But I'll let Pat go right into the upcoming games for the weekend.
I don't want to talk about City. Let's talk about the North London Derby. Nobody has a horse in that race.
Spurs are going to win.
I agree.
Are they at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium?
Yeah.
Yes.
And Spurs are unbeaten in 10 at home against Arsenal in the EPL.
I like 2-2 draw. This Arsenal team feels different. I don't think they're going to lose. I like draw.
Big draw. Mitch?
I'm gonna ride with Arsenal. I'm gonna say they squeak out a 2-1 win.
It is
I like
funny.
high scoring draw.
Yeah, it's funny watching Arsenal, like, because we're just waiting for them to slip up, and it hasn't really happened yet. Spurs are definitely a side that can just, I mean, they can suck like week in, week out, and they'll catch you out at home. So I do think it'll be interesting. It'll be a big game environment. I think it's the only match in that time slot on Sunday. You know,
Yep.
when Spurs have those weird games that it's like the only game on, the fans turn up and it's like deafening in there. I kind of like them in this one, but
I mean, I definitely won't complain if they win. I just think Arsenal are playing pretty well. I think they'll do enough to not lose the game. I think
yeah,
it'll be a 2-2. I could see an Arsenal win as well. Um, but I think it'll be 2-2
okay,
or 1-1. It feels high scoring. It feels like there's goals in this game.
yeah, I would probably agree. It's probably gonna be pretty open. Um, I know you said you didn't want to talk about it, but it's the first game of the weekend there, Pat, or first
No,
game of the Saturday
no, it's the
window.
first game of the weekend is technically
Lead.
tomorrow because Friday's the weekend to some people.
Wasn't it
That's
today
another room.
actually, or was today a makeup game?
Today might have been a makeup game, but
I don't know. Tomorrow's Villa Leeds, and I'm trying to deflect from the fact that City are gonna fucking lose tomorrow.
I don't know if City lose, Pat. Why are you not confident going into that?
We suck right now. We've
I
been
don't know.
so bad since
Not
the
that
rebuild.
bad.
You have a good record against United, though. Where's
Yeah,
the game?
that's true.
Is it-
It's at
they,
OT.
They won 3 on the bounce. Rashford and Casemiro were playing really, really well, and
Hey,
we just
Pat.
look horrendous. We don't have a good fullback right now. Pep is going to start a weird lineup, and we're going to lose, man. We're going to lose.
This is a lot of words saying a lot of negative words coming out of you when you could be sitting behind Fulham, who are in 6th place.
I mean, I'm not being that
True.
negative. We just haven't been playing well in the last 3 games.
Hey,
We're
Fulham
in
are
second
good though.
place.
Fulham are good.
Carson, what's your perspective on this one? You know, I think you think we're going to win by the reaction when I said we're going to lose, but
I mean, I think we've got up for the games over the last few years against United. I do think United are pretty good, actually. Generally speaking, you know that's what happens when you get a half decent manager on board. I
And
think
cut the dead weight.
yeah, and cut the big dead weight. I still think we're good enough to win, even in Old Trafford. I don't think they're very good still, like in the sense that like I don't think they're better than us. If we put out a half decent side, we'll be fine. I think. I also think Holland's going to bag a brace as well.
yeah, I've definitely got if we're betting on anything for this game, bet on Holland to score because he hates United and I love that about him. But I don't know, man. I don't feel good about it. The only fullback I feel good about is Rico Lewis, and he's 19 years old, and I don't know about throwing him into the deep end in a game like this.
I think there's no better time. Why not throw him in there?
I kind of agree.
Like you'll really figure out if he's up for it or not. I mean, he's not going to be any worse than the other guys that played recently.
Yeah, that's true. Is it wild to say that he's actually been our best fullback since the restart? Because Cancelo is dog shit right now.
It's not wild, and I mean, I think he's arguably one of our best players since we got back from the restart, and I'd throw him in there.
No, I mean I would too. I think there's not a better option than him right now. It's just young players in big games like this can go one of two ways. They can have a standout performance or they can really crumble. I don't think Lewis will crumble. We saw him in his Champions League debut. It's worrying, you know?
I mean, unless he makes a huge mistake, because generally speaking, I think it's going to be a pretty one-sided possession affair. Because even though United have been playing a lot better, they still do a lot of counterattacking. So even at their own place, I still think that we're going to have the ball a lot. So it would take a massive mistake for him to really have like a bad game. And I feel like he has a lot of upside in this matchup as well. You know, I don't think the United fullbacks are very good. So if he pushes up and overlaps or, you know, or if he drops in the midfield, whatever, I think there's a chance that he can open him up quite a lot.
I would agree. I got two more questions for you as a fellow City fan. I love to get other perspective here because it's usually just everybody listening to me. What's your ideal front three?
Did Pat just go out?
No.
No, I think I went
No.
out. My bad.
Oh.
My bad.
Cool.
Is everybody healthy in this context?
Yeah. I mean, it's the current squad. What out of what we've got available?
What we got available? All right. I mean, Diaz is still out, correct?
Yeah, he's still injured.
John Stones and Akanji.
Yep.
At least I want my
the
center
same
back
page.
pairing. I would like Phil Foden on the left. I would like Holland up front, and then quite honestly, I want Jack Grealish on the right, not the left.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
I understand that his main thing is to cut inside, but like he's not shooting a ton anyway, so just chuck him out there and for maybe a little bit of whipping it in. But generally speaking, that's gonna be my front three. I don't want Mahrez in there right now. That's just me, but
It's tough because like I've been talking a lot of shit about Mahrez too, and then he won us the game against Chelsea.
yeah. I mean that happens, right? You always say
Yeah.
something bad about a player, and they come back and do something great.
Yeah, no, I'm completely on the same page. That's my front three and my center back pairing as well. If Laporte was maybe in a little bit better physical standing right now, I'd like to see him in there over Akanji, but that's about it. I mean, that's the Manchester Derby in a nutshell. I'm a little afraid of them with Casemiro now instead of I think it was still Scott McTominay anchoring their midfield in the 6-3 earlier this year.
Is that all your takes on the Manchester Derby, Pat?
Yeah, Carson, what's your score prediction? You heard me. I think we're gonna lose.
I say 3-1 City.
That's a drastically different City fan, folks. I love it. We need some optimism out of a City fan on the podcast.
I think they're going to be uber aggressive. I mean, after you lose 2-0 to the bottom side team and they're clearly lacking something, I think they're going to come out pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, we should kill them. I'm just not. It's typical. It's screaming typical City this weekend.
I like City in this one too, for what it's worth. Brighton, Liverpool. We have a trip down to the Amex. They obviously, I believe we drew with them earlier in the season. Brighton are definitely a team that can catch us out. I mean, 100%. Yeah, Trossard scored a hat trick, didn't he?
Yep.
Brighton are 100% a team that can catch us out. I mean, they just romped Everton. They're kind of just cruising through the Prem right now. They're probably one of the teams kind of to watch coming up the table. I can go into every Liverpool game and say that I expect us to win. I expect us to bounce back. Until it does, like, I'm not even going to give a prediction out because it's just like the variability of this team is impossible to predict. I just hope they come in, make a strong showing. Darwin looked a lot better. Finishes like probably one of the harder chances he's had in recent weeks. So I just hope that continues. If we can put in a midfield that has decently fresh legs, I like our chances, but I'm not even going to predict anything until we see the product on the field.
Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna see. I just kind of I feel like if I'm gonna piggyback off of all of the nice things our blue fans had to say about their youngsters at this point. Fucking throw Ben Doak in for a start, get Mo a rest. We're so haggard up front right now. I want to see Cody get more reps. I have no preference on the midfield at this point. Fucking throw by Chedichin. I want to get as much experience as we can while we're riding this absolutely abysmal time. It's not fun to watch. We're not the same team we were a season ago. And it's hard to say that going into a matchup against Brighton is a toss up after the 6-year stint we just had.
I think you're losing for what it's worth.
I have no doubt in my mind. I feel like a draw, but I think a loss is more probable with how many question marks we have right now. I want to be wrong.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Again, this is totally a game that we could get caught out in, but it is what it is. I do have one thing to say, and I'm going to clip this totally and put it on Twitter, but you're a loser on Twitter if you're blaming Liverpool's downfall on Pep Lijnders writing a book in the summer. I saw way too much of that in the past week. I swear to God, you're getting a block if I see a tweet about Pep Lijnders' intensity book. One more time. I'm going to start muting the words.
Gave out all the secrets, Josh. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's just absolute imbecile teenagers coming up with those, but
next episode, we're going through all your muted terms on Twitter and making it a segment.
Barcelona is one of them.
Well, no, I just can't. They also unblocked me, so that's fine.
They did?
Yeah, they unblocked me like a couple months after.
Oh,
I'm
no
assuming
shot.
they had
I
someone
didn't know
go
that.
back and like mass do it or something. I don't know. The only other 3 games that I think are worth just maybe we'll go around and give a quick prediction for. Everton Southampton, big relegation match. I like Southampton. They're riding the high.
I do too.
I do. I do too, man. I'm gonna be totally honest.
Lampard's gonna get the sack. You have to think it's coming soon.
How has it not happened already, man?
I know. It's getting real close.
I mean, they
Blows my
are
mind.
such a bad side every
stink.
single week. And to think, what 2 years ago or 3 years ago, they had one of the best managers in the world, James Rodriguez in the midfield, and to think they're like, oh, we're gonna get a new stadium, and how far they've fallen again. That it's relegation battle each year for the last like 2 years.
Well, yeah, it was that same window too where they got Allen from Napoli
Yep.
and no, not Ndidi.
They have Decore.
Decore.
Yeah.
And it was like their summer trio of signing. Everyone was like, Everton's gonna get top 4, and yeah, how the times have changed.
They won September too. I mean, Dominic Calvert-Lewin was insane for the first month or two, but yeah, they stink.
Yeah, he's gonna get the sack. Chelsea, Chelsea actually play Palace, which Graham Potter, he's in a tough predicament. I mean, obviously they lose to Fulham the night we're recording this. And a slew of injuries, which aren't really his fault, but I think they've won 1-9 in the EPL, 1-8 in all competitions. It's looking pretty bad for Chelsea. João Felix getting a red card in his debut too. So against Palace, it's not going to be easier.
No.
Beautiful 2-footer today.
What
I
a
love a
tackle.
good 2-footer.
It was a tough performance. Tough road ahead for Graham Potter, I think.
Carson, what'd you say in the Twitter DMs to us today before the episode?
Does he get the sack, or are they going to give him time?
I think they should give him time, but I could see him getting sacked.
I mean, it's Chelsea we're talking about, so.
Post Roman though, so
Yeah.
we don't. I mean, do we know if Todd Bowley is about like waiting or not, or
I've got this weird feeling that Todd Bowley is going to be just as trigger happy as Roman was, man. He's already going about owning this team the complete wrong way. He's not getting results. It's pow, get out of my side.
which is crazy. I mean, I was talking about how Graham Potter left a better side, in my opinion. He had everything. I mean, I know you want to go to a big 6, understandable, but he had all the power. He could play the way he wanted to play. He had guys who wanted to play for him, and now you're bringing on Aubameyang in the 3rd minute, who, for 87 minutes, does absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, he has guys that are just running around there for running around. He has a midfield that passes back and forth all game long. Like they're old, they're slow, they don't go forward at all. They have no creativity, and I just think it's lacking a lot. So I personally think he could get the sack within at least the next month if they keep playing this way.
No, I could see it as well. I'm pretty in agreement with that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying when the appointment was made. It's like, why move? Why move from that situation? Because they were on the come up. They were playing so well, and to have a fall from grace like that, 1-9, 1-8, whatever it is, that's horrible.
We said it too. We said, when he took the job at Chelsea, that if you don't win a trophy at Chelsea in the first year and a half, 2 years, you're done. So, where does he go when he gets sacked from Chelsea? I don't know if you're going to find a job as good as Brighton, honestly. But I digress. The only other game I wanted to talk about, we'll give a quick prediction for, Newcastle Fulham. Can the Cottagers get something against Newcastle?
I think it's going to be a really good game, to be honest. I don't know about getting something because Newcastle have been playing unbelievable.
I'm not sure if Mitrovic will be back. He was in the stands today.
There's no Mitrovic. I'm not liking.
I won't.
Chances.
Yeah.
Newcastle's been really tough to beat. I think it's at St. James Park too. So
That's tough.
it's a tough.
I don't know. Tim Ream's in there.
He's a boy.
Jedi has been playing pretty well too since coming back. So I wouldn't count Fulham out. I've been riding with Fulham this year.
Agreed.
Dude, Tim Ream might get EPL team of the season. he's a baller.
He should.
I love him.
I would love to see Tim Ream in the Premier League team of the season.
Me too.
I have a game I wanted to shout out, not to actually talk about, but I just want to give a prediction about it. Wolves, West Ham, is arguably going to be the worst fixture this weekend anyone could ever watch.
0% chance I watch a second of that.
That is the team with the third fewest goals scored going up against the team with the least goals scored at the
Wait,
bottom of the table. That game is going to suck. And I just
isn't
want everyone to know that.
isn't that the fixture last year where was it Moutinho? Who on Wolves got like the double yellow? Wasn't it against West Ham?
I think you're right.
I think Wolves West Ham is a chippy little match, regardless of their current form. I think it still could be a fun watch.
It might be fun, but it's probably going to be a 0-0 and it's going to suck.
Yeah, it's gonna suck, but it might be fun.
Also, Pat, I think, has the counter on 10 days until Borussia Mönchengladbach are back in action against Leverkusen.
Yes, sir. We won a friendly recently, 3-1.
Let's go.
I
Cannot
wanna make
wait
sure
to
you're
talk
still
about
keeping
my
up with
Bulls
it.
again and not get my jersey because they're not going to win the league.
That, I think, concludes our preview, boys. That was a good app.
I think you're right.
It's gonna be a fun weekend.
Yeah, it should be. Catch us at the zoo this
Yeah.
weekend. Me and Josh. I
Yeah.
think Mitch is going to be joining us. We'll be there on Saturday for at least the 7 a.m. and the 10 o'clock game. Right,
Yes, sir.
Liverpool, the 10 this
Get
weekend.
your
Yeah,
zoo
so
reps
we'll be there
in
for
because
the.
they're closed all of February.
Yeah, so get in there while you can. Carson, when you come to Maine, I'm taking you to the zoo.
Okay, you got it.
It's not animals, it's a bar. I love it there.
I do know that.
Just making sure. I've had a lot of people ask me when I had my Portland Zoo hat on. Oh, Portland has a zoo, and I'm like,
Either-
well,
Either or, I'm down.
all right, word. Yeah, again, thank you, Carson, for joining us today. Lovely having you on. Thanks for chatting USL local
Big
ball
shout
with
out
us.
to Carson.
Yes, thank
I
you.
appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Of course, closing statements. Carson, one more time. Name of the club you work for, and where can the folks watch them?
I work for Loudon United FC. You can find us on loudonunitedfc.com. We have all socials, all Loudon United socials, TikTok sometimes, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. I don't think we have any of the other cool apps, but you can watch us on ESPN Plus. Our first match is actually an away match in I believe Memphis is March 11th. So check us out there, and we'd love the support.
Nice. Like,
Sweet.
share, subscribe to the podcast. We'll see you next week.
Deuces.
Peace out, fellas.